Do you know your rights as a Christian parent?
Are you allowed to withdraw your kids from lessons on sexuality? Do all pupils have to dress up in the colours of the LGBT flag for Pride? Many Christians don't have a problem with any of this, but many do. The Christian Institute have written a guide for parents on all these issues called Equipped for Equality, and Premier's Cara Bentley spoke to their education officer John Denny about what the purpose of it is.
Well, it's really meant to debunk a lot of the myths that are around about what schools are required to do by the Equality Act. So we're just trying to give a reliable account of what equality and human rights law actually requires in schools. So we've put it together very carefully so that parents know where they stand.
And why did you think that was needed?
Well, I help, I guess it's around 30 Christian parents and teachers and governors every month who are phoning up. And some of them have some really horrendous stories of what has happened. And when they've raised concerns with schools, schools have said, well, we have to do this because of the Equality Act. But actually, the equality law requires schools to protect, not to promote. It's a shield to protect everyone. It's not a sword to attack people, which is the way it's sometimes used. So the booklet is really taking parents through that, explaining the basis for that it's about protection, not promotion. For example, in primary schools, sometimes they'll teach about trans ideology, and it might be suggested to girls who are interested in engineering. They may actually be boys. The Equality Act does not require that. And schools should be teaching pupils to respect one another, but you don't have to agree with someone to respect them or to love them. So there needs to be space for different views in schools, and schools have a duty to educate, not to indoctrinate. There's different views on same-sex marriage or on transgender issues. There's different views on where our identity comes from and what it means to live a fulfilled life. And schools should be presenting those different views fairly and in a balanced way for pupils to make up their own minds. And that's just good education, isn't it? That benefits everyone. And schools shouldn't be trying to compel thought or expression. So one of the most common things I've dealt with is where schools want to run a gay pride day, and they say to their pupils, come in dressed in the colours of the gay pride flag in exchange for a donation to an LGBT charity. That's really difficult for some pupils, some Christian pupils and others too. They may have friends who identify as LGBT, but what do they do? Do they feel they can't come in the colours of the gay pride flag because there's elements of what that stands for that they can't agree with, but if they turn up in school uniform, then they get accused of being homophobic. Their friendships with other pupils, particularly those who identify as LGBT, are damaged, and sometimes it leads to really horrendous bullying of Christian pupils. So we're explaining, why schools shouldn't be doing that, and helping parents to understand that law so they can help to hold schools to account to that and have those constructive but informed conversations with schools.
And when it comes to this compelling or this kind of indoctrination, as you call it, what evidence is there that parents have felt that kind of those views being imposed rather than just expressed, as in people do have different sexualities and some people are transgender?
Yeah, I don't think that's the point of disagreement. I think, I think the problem is that schools will push one particular line, and they will say, they will imply that if your human identity comes from your inner feelings, your inner desires, and whatever desires you have, particularly sexual desires, you find human fulfillment by fulfilling those desires. Well, Christians can't agree with that. We believe our identity comes from God, and that we find what it is to live life to the full actually by denying ourselves, and that self-control is so important. But those sorts of views tend to be marginalised, pushed to the side, and you get sometimes schools who really heavily push one particular view and say, well, we have to do this because of the Equality Act. Well, the news is they don't. That's not what the Equality Act requires.
And what are you hoping will happen, that parents will feel kind of more enthused to challenge staff? Yes, and as I say, it's not. It is challenge, but it's hopefully constructive challenge. It's helping parents,
take their responsibilities, fulfill their responsibilities. It's parents who have that duty of deciding how their children should be brought up. And so parents have that important voice, and it's to help give them that voice and to help them in having those conversations with schools.
If parents do want to find out more about their rights as a parent and their Christian children's rights when they're at school, where can they find out more? Yeah,
well, if they just give us a ring on 0191 281 5664, 0191 281 5664, and just ask for a copy of Equipped for Equality, or multiple copies if they want. They're free of charge, and we'll get them sent out to you.
That was John Denny, Education Officer from the Christian Institute, speaking to Cara Bentley about a new guide for parents that's been released called Equipped for Equality.